Greetings, minions, survivalists, and fellow gamers. Hold on a sec. You little rascal. There we go. Shoot him in the ass. This is Silverblade playing 7 Days to Die, Alpha 18.4, Episode 156. And I'm not going to be doing too much. I'm just going to be sitting up here and drilling any of the zombies that happen to wander into line of sight. I got some stuff I need to talk about, or at least, if you'll indulge me, let me talk about certain things that's going on. This week's been kind of rough. As you guys may know from last week's episodes, my dad, brother, sister, and I drove 2 hours up to Morley, Michigan, where my aunt and uncle live. And my aunt she's been struggling with Alzheimer's for the past, I don't know, half a dozen years, maybe. And we got the call that she was not doing so great. And so we got up there. It was a long trip. And met up with my uncle and chatted with him a little bit and visited my aunt, who is essentially completely bedridden. She wasn't able to speak. She could hear us, but she couldn't speak. She can't eat or drink, or she couldn't eat or drink. So my uncle would take a syringe, big fat gauge syringe, fill it with water and squirt it into her mouth. And she couldn't eat anything solid. So my uncle was hand feeding her yogurt, baby food, just something to give her some kind of sustenance. And while we were there, my sister helped out, changing my aunt's diaper and that kind of stuff, and we just sat and watched TV a little bit. You know, we were all pretty quiet, didn't really know what to say, and so we ended up having lunch. My sister cooked up lunch for us all and saved my uncle from doing it. And my sister stayed inside, and my dad, my brother, my uncle, and myself, we kind of went out and checked out the property. My uncle owned the house that they live in and the house next door, and so he was just showing that stuff off, and through it all he was saying that there's things that he wanted to do and things that he needed to do but really couldn't, because he has to continuously watch my aunt. And because, well, there's a few instances where my aunt would, when she was able to, go up to the front bay window completely naked. She went down through the streets, and this is like a 1-street city or 2-street city of Morley, which is very small. And she got loose one day wearing her birthday suit. So my uncle had to watch her all the time, which is in contrast of my aunt when she used to watch my uncle when he was having heart issues. Well, anyway, my aunt didn't really respond much. She would open her eyes, and I think because the room was so bright, she'd kind of have to close them and all, but my sister said her goodbyes. We knew at that point that it was just a matter of time. I didn't think she would even live out the week. So we did what little things we could. You know, when my uncle was feeding my aunt, you know, I helped wipe the excess off her mouth, and my sister helped out, my brother helped out, all that, and then we came home. Well, actually, we stopped at another aunt and uncle that lived kind of nearby, and you know, that was Father's Day, so you know, shared the day with another uncle, and a bunch of my cousins were there, and then we came home. Well, I'm recording this on Sunday morning. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And yesterday, which is Saturday the 27th, probably about this time to about 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, my aunt passed away. And, you know, we got the news on Facebook. Not exactly ideal for passing on such notices, but you know, it is what it is. But anyway, my aunt's no longer suffering. My uncle can, for the moment, get a bit of rest. And this kind of brings me to, you know, one of the things in my mind is, and I'm not bashing anybody that does it. People generally mean well about it. But when someone dies, you always hear my condolences, my thoughts go out to you. It's not that I take issue with those sentiments, because people I know are genuinely meaning well. But I always take the view that, you know, those are common things to say. Things you say without thinking. In some ways, without even feeling. You know, you feel bad for the person, you genuinely do, but it's just like what people say all the time. You know, it's like if you bump somebody, you say, "Oh, excuse me." You say it without thinking. And so I was thinking about, you know, I've been thinking about it for several years now, but instead of, you know, condolences and all that, basically say, I hope you enjoy the memories you had with her. You know, something that means something, and it's something you think about before saying it. Because to me, my memories of my aunt, I have many of them. I mean, a ton of them. Part of it is because when I was growing up, and particularly when I was really young, my brother and I, we were just a couple years old, and my sister was being born. My parents sent us to my aunt and uncle's house for them to babysit us until my sister was born. When my grandpa died on my mom's side, my parents didn't really want us to see the funeral, just because we were I think I was only 8 or 9 years old when my grandpa died, and my brother and sister were younger, so my parents sent us to my uncle and aunt's house, and they babysat us for the funeral. Later on, when I was a teenager, I was early teens, I should say, my aunt and uncle would babysit us when my parents were going out of state on a trip, and they couldn't afford to to bring us along and put up with us. They wanted some time to themselves, which is perfectly fine. So they sent us to my Uncle Bill and Aunt Jackie's house. So while we were there, we played card games and board games and shot the shit, did our schoolwork, whatever. We were there. My aunt and uncle was in my parents' will. Basically, if something were to happen to my mom and dad, and this is when we were younger, my brother and my sister and I would be taken care of by my aunt and uncle. So that's how close, how much, we looked up to them. For, I got 7 aunts and uncles, and then there's a shit ton of nieces and nephews and cousins, and I mean, it's a big family, but they were the ones chosen to be our legal guardians if something were to happen to my folks. And then my aunt and uncle had bought a farm with a lot of acres. I don't even remember how many acres they had. And so every November, we would go deer hunting. So every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd get up. My aunt would cook us pancakes, and my aunt could cook, okay? In fact, when we were kids and we'd stay at their house, my aunt was great with making Kool-Aid. Now, this is just making Kool-Aid. My aunt would make stuff that was like liquid crack. I mean, we would drink it by the gallon because it was so good. But my aunt, she was just perfect pancakes. And we couldn't get enough. And we'd go out to the deer stands so packed that we would spend probably about 2 or 3 hours with a belly so full we couldn't do much. But that's the way it was. She was that good, and of course my uncle would do pranks and stuff like that, and it was all in good fun. And then when we weren't hunting, it'd be card games, board games, and all that. In fact, one deer season, I think I was 17. I got a new knife for my birthday. My birthday is November 9th, so it's just before deer season. Got a new knife, and it really wasn't sharp out of the box. So my cousin, he sharpened it up with a whetstone, showed me how to sharpen it up with a whetstone, and I had the knife on my hip when I'm sitting by myself, because this is the first year I could hunt by myself, sitting in the box, and I'm like, man, there's nothing going on. Let's see how my cousin did on sharpening this thing. So it had a friction lock in the sheath, not a strap or anything like that. So you just quickly pull it out, and I pull it out blade side down on my thumb, and I didn't feel it. And then I looked down in my glove, and there was a tear, and I saw the red just growing out from orange gloves. I'm like, what's this? Pulled the glove off, and I cut my thumb to the bone. I had probably 30% of my tendon still attached. So I clamped my glove down on my thumb, ran about a quarter, almost 3/4 of a mile back to the house, and thankfully my aunt was there, because I'm not a small guy, so I drained out a lot of blood in that run. And my aunt got me in the bathroom, put my hand up in the sink, washed out the wound. She was calm as can be. It kept me calm. I don't really panic under that kind of pressure, but yeah, I was starting to get really, really worried and kind of nervous, and I didn't want to do that because my heart rate would get up and then squirting more blood out and all this. My brother's sitting next to me, and he's just getting sick. But my aunt, cool as a cucumber, got me stabilized so my dad could drive me to the hospital, which was like an hour and a half away. And the next year after that, I got teased about it all the time because, well, I was dumb. I should have just left it in there, not pulled out the knife until I absolutely needed it. But family reunions. We have one in the summer, and we have one in the winter, just before Christmas. And most of the ones we've had over the years were at my aunt and uncle's house. And if it wasn't theirs, it'd be my cousin's house. But anyways, we had almost always had the Christmas party at my aunt's house, and it was always like coming home for Christmas, and having all the relatives there. My eldest uncle, who passed away 2 years ago, he would sit down and read. It was the night before Christmas to all his kids. My aunt would organize everything, and it was just great. Having like 60 or so people crammed into this house was crazy, but we were able to do it, and it just one of the greatest memories I'll have is those Christmas reunions. And then there was one time, my dad gave my aunt one of our vehicles, because my uncle, he had to drive 2 hours to work and then 2 hours back. So my dad had her come get our car, and she didn't know how to drive an automatic. This girl, she knew how to drive a stick. She didn't know how to drive an automatic. So I'm actually like not old enough to drive yet, and I'm teaching her how to shift it and not shift it while you're driving, because you don't need to do that. And she got a kick out of that. But I have just a ton more stories I could do, ton more memories of my aunt that I'll always cherish. And the thing about my Aunt Jackie is that you would never see her mad. There'd be a few moments where you'd see her talk sternly, but never mad. And she always was smiling. You always see the smile in her eyes first before she did it in her mouth. She always had this smile, and there was a glint to her eyes that was slightly mischievous. But it was just the way she was. And she's a lot like my dad in many ways. You'd think of her as a female version of my dad, crazy enough. And my dad is her next oldest sibling, so it's like my uncle, my aunt, my dad, my Aunt Jackie, and then an uncle and an uncle. So my dad and her were really close. When my oldest uncle, passed away 2 years ago, it was just after I had the stroke, and I was able to speak, but you could tell there was some hesitation yet in my voice, and I had an abscess, so I was really jacked up at that funeral. And my dad was talking with her, and he held her hand and was walking her through the funeral, through the memorial service, and oh, somebody's coming around here. Yeah, they got. Anyways, my dad just, I think my aunt and my dad were like the closest of all the siblings. They were the closest. So when I found out the news about my aunt passing, I went through the house telling my mom and then my sister, and then I woke up my dad and told him, and he just he's like, okay, and laid back down, and I walked out of the room, and knowing my dad, he was probably just quietly thinking about it. My dad's a very reserved and non-emotional guy, and so I'm sure he hurt by it, but at the same time, he's probably like me, and just thinking and reliving those memories that he has of her. So, anyways, yeah, my aunt was awesome. You know, she was a tomboy through and through. She went deer hunting with us. In fact, there's one year she killed a doe for bow hunting season, and they cleaned it out and had it butchered and all that. And I didn't know this, but they saved the deer head. So there's a doe head circulating around the farm, and but I didn't know about it. So one morning, my dad and I were heading out to our deer stand, which was one of those high voltage towers. Went through the farm fields, and our blind was right under this tower. So as soon as the sun was, as soon as it was starting to get light, and you can start to see more than 50 or 100 yards, I looked out and I saw this deer peeking out from this fence row that was all brush and bushes and trees, little trees. So I saw this deer poking out. And I'm like, well, I ain't going to take a headshot at this range because, one, it's a small target, and two, I want to kill it dead. I don't want to spend the rest of the day tracking down this deer. So I'll wait until it steps out, and then I'll blow it away. An hour and a half later, that damn thing did not move. And at that point, the sun was up. It was probably like 8 in the morning at that point, and so the sun was just coming up over the trees. And I'm like, well, I gotta pee. I forgot my license back in the house, so I figured, well, I'm gonna just walk up there, get my license, and if that deer is still there, I'll either spook him out into the field where I can shoot it, or it'll run back into the brush, and that'll be it. Because I had enough at that point of that damn deer just standing there not doing a damn thing. So I walk up the fence row, and lo and behold, there's a deer head with a stick up the back end of it to hold it in place, and the head was positioned in the crotch of this little sapling with a stick in the back of it. And I'm like, ha, funny. I get back to the house. I'm like, who stuck that deer head out there? And my Aunt Jackie was like, what are you talking about? And just then my Uncle Bill had come in through the door, and I'm like, did you stick a deer head on a stick out there along the fence row? And he's like, what? And he had his giggle about him that he's up to something. And eventually other family members started coming in. So my dad came in, two of my cousins came in, my other uncle come in, and I started telling them, or asking, who the hell put this doe head on a stick and in the crotch of a tree for me to find, who's playing the prank, because that's a good prank, I was taking it in stride. Nobody fessed up to it. And I'm starting to think, okay, there really is something going on now, because no one's fessing up to it. They're mock feigning surprise or disbelief that there's nothing there. So about noon, 1 o'clock, we had lunch, and then we headed out, and I go out there, and there's no deer head. So I'm like, what the hell? I look in the crotch of the tree where it was at, and there's a little bit of fur, a little bit of blood on the tree. I'm like, yeah, I know what's going on. None of them would fess up to it. In our deer blinds, we sat on plastic 5-gallon buckets. We put a little heating cushion on it, and that's how we would hunt. For the next week, unbeknownst to me, because apparently I'm very oblivious about this kind of stuff, that deer head was stuffed into that bucket underneath me. I was sitting on the damn thing the whole time, and they were pretending that it wasn't there, it didn't exist. And then finally they got a good laugh off of that. But my aunt was complicit in that one. And I didn't know it until a couple years later that she was complicit in it and that she had got that deer. So that's the kind of pranks that my family would do during deer camp. And now I can look back at it and just even then I could laugh my ass off about it. But but those are the things that I remember, or some of what I remember, that I'll miss most about my Aunt Jackie. I'm not sad. I mean, I'm sad that I'll never see her again. But then again, I've had all this time knowing that she's had Alzheimer's, preparing myself for the worst, because I knew that the outcome was not going to be ideal. But I'm not sad about her dying. Yeah, I'll miss her, but she's in a better place now. She's at rest, and that's something to be happy about. That there's no more suffering. Her memory is restored now. If you guys believe in heaven or an afterlife, I don't know of any stories of the afterlife where someone is not restored. And she's in the prime of her life now. So that makes me happy. And then it also makes me happy in seeing my Aunt Jackie and my cousin David, my cousin Donna. It makes me happy to see in her grandkids. And so as long as we all remember her, she is always alive. So saying, my condolences, I'm sorry for your loss, things like that. I mean, I know you guys, people mean well when they say it, but for me, it things like I hope you have fond memories of her are much more meaningful and comforting. And even not saying anything at all, I'm just comforted by those thoughts, by those memories, by all the experiences I got to have with my aunt. Earlier tonight, before I started recording, that's why I'm starting out pretty late, I had a talk with my mom, and she is in the early stages of Alzheimer's. It's not really bad, but we see the signs. It's starting to creep in. I wanted to make sure that I impress it upon my mom that when it comes to the point where she is unresponsive or can't speak, where she might not even know who we are, might not know who anybody is, really. One thing that I definitely want her to know is that she is loved. It's one of the things I told my Aunt Jackie the last time I saw her. Every time I saw her, actually. I made sure that point was driven home, that she is loved, and we'll miss her. And as a practice that we do here in the home is every day you say it once, at least once. Don't say it to the point where it has no meaning, because when people say a lot of things, or say things repetitively and all the time, it loses the meaning. That's why my dad doesn't say I love you all that much. It tends to lose meaning. It has to mean something. It has to come from the heart, and that is what matters. So, about that, that's all I really need to say. This is going to be a little bit long of an episode, so I hope you guys will bear with me on this. Another thing is, I think it was like Thursday. Midnight Designer has a side channel. I think it's Midnight Vlogs or something like that. But basically, the channel, the side channel, is he started out wanting to show what things were like in the life of a YouTuber, of a Twitch streamer, and also he wants to self-improve. He wants to get his weight down. He wants to get into shape. All these things. And as you guys might know, or might not know, without Midnight Designer, without Games for Kicks, without the Broken Angle crew, my channel might not even exist if it wasn't for them. And I'm not even saying that lightly. You know, they inspired me to do this channel. And so when I heard that he was doing it, I had to back him up 100%. And so back in February, I sent a message. You know, he hadn't put out any new videos, and I kind of got concerned, because it's like, what, did you lose your motivation? Do you need someone to kick you in the pants to keep you going? Because I'll do that. You know, being inspired by him meant a lot to me, you know, to do this, and finding out all the people I've helped without even knowing it has encouraged me. So the least I could do is give that encouragement back, because for me, the Midnight Designer et al, they showed that playing on multiplayer games or online, particularly in 7 Days to Die, that it doesn't have to be toxic, like I had seen in videos before, you know, especially of GTA and COD and all those games. You know, people are talking trash and getting nasty, very toxic. But Midnight Designer, Games for Kicks, Endums, Zeo Kill Zeds, Rongo the Bold, those guys had shown to me that it doesn't have to be that way. They're encouraging of their community, encouraging of each other. They tease and poke fun, but that's the thing. It's poking fun. It's teasing. It's done out of genuine love and care for each other, and I appreciate that, because that's kind of what my family and friends are like. And that's what inspired me to start my channel 5 years ago. So to see Midnight suffering with bouts of depression, and I know that story all too well myself, Um, I wanted to back him up. I wanted to support him, say, keep going, you got this. And it's not just words. It's like, hey, I will back my words up. You need help, I will help you if I can. And I said that back in February, and he replied back, and then I replied back to him, and then I didn't hear anything for about a month. And then I sent him a DM, and this is all DM'd on Twitter. I sent him a DM back in April, I think it was, or late March, saying, dude, you still doing your videos? What's going on? Come on, let's go. And nothing. And then I felt at that point that it's like, well, I don't want to pester somebody. I don't want to, overwhelm somebody. I don't want to bother them or anything, but I still want to help. I want to encourage. And so I sent one last message in April or early May. Knock, knock, knock. Read up above, don't let this message slip by type of thing. And I heard nothing. Well, this week, Midnight kind of broke out of his shell about what was up about that. And I guess CB the Great, which is another channel, I can't say that I know him, but I've seen some of his videos. I've seen him in chats and stuff. He also tried messaging him, and apparently Midnight didn't feel like answering. And I know how that is. It's not a slight against anybody. It's just it's like, man, I don't want to talk. I don't feel like trying to put on an appearance that isn't true to say, hey, I'm great. It's just like when someone says, hey, what's up, or how are you? Everybody usually just says, oh, I'm fine. They're not fine. And so I think it's something like that is why he didn't reply. But he made a video explaining in the things that he was going through, and I understand completely what it's like. I've suffered through depression, I would say, almost most of my adult life. Definitely when I was in high school, dealt with it. Of course, you have the high points, but you also have low points, and usually those low points get really low. So I fired back a comment, just giving him some encouragement through scripture, because I know that Midnight goes to church, and I know that that would be one way that he can get encouragement. Maybe not from me, but from the Bible that we both agree, believe in. So if my words didn't have enough sway, at least scripture might help him out. And then I told him about my struggles a little bit, and how I got through it, or get through it. I don't think I'm completely over these things, but I really wanted to push that, you're not in this alone. I can definitely sympathize. I can relate. Let's get through this type of thing. And for me, one of the things that helped me out a lot is music. I'm a country music fan. Of course, I'm also a classic rock fan, and even classical music. Pardon me a moment. Classical music, classic rock, country, classic country. Anything with soul, with feeling to it. Not the soulless, vapid pop music, but something just with meat in its bones. I love. So one of the artists I listen to is Gary Allan. And in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated country singers of all time. Extremely talented, really soulful music. And the reason why he has really soulful music is because he's been in the shit. I think it was 2003 or 2004, his wife committed suicide. She was a stewardess for an airline, and she had intense migraines and severe depression. And I have occasional headaches, but not like that. And I know what depression is like. So for a while, Gary Allen's music, I think the couple albums that came out after her untimely death, kind of related to it. And he was in that dark place. But eventually, he snapped out of it and started releasing albums about getting over the grief and over the struggles, and then his music started turning into more hopeful songs. So each step of the music that he made in his life is I can relate to. And so there's two songs in particular that I shared with Midnight Designer because they helped me through a lot of things. And one of them is called Life Ain't Always Beautiful, and the other song is Every Storm Runs Out of Rain. Now the songs aren't exactly in fitting with our situations, but there's poignant verses that help out a lot, and I hope that Midnight was able to listen to them, but also for you guys, if you're going through some really dark times, those are the two songs I'm going to recommend every time. Now there's a few other songs. His entire discography is just awesome stuff, and they can almost relate to any situation you go through in life. But yeah, Every Storm Runs Out of Rain, Life Ain't Always Beautiful. Those are the two songs I would recommend for anybody who's just having a hard time in life. And in Midnight's case, I really hope that those help. So he said that he's got his fire back, that things are getting better for him, and I really hope they are. I don't know what the exact reason that he was depressed is, and that's fine that he keeps it to himself if he wants that. But I'm glad he's got that fire back, because it just, when he said that he got the fire back, it reminded me of that scene in Thor Ragnarok, and Thor and the Hulk were sitting down after they just had a little spat, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like Hulk says, "Thor, smoldering fire. Hulk, raging fire," or something like that. And it just, like, man, you got to get that raging fire in your blood. You know, you just can't lay down and die. You have to get up and fight. And I hope that Midnight can fight, get things turned around for him. And I know that his family will definitely help him out with that. And I'm not just talking his family. I'm talking like all of us in the Twitch community, all his pats. We'll just keep encouraging him and pushing him forward, because, and he is such a great guy. He's just a very great guy. I can't speak highly enough of him, and I'm pretty sure that if you follow my channel for a while, you know I kind of gush over that guy, because it meant a hell of a lot to me to be inspired by him. Oop, ex-girlfriend. And she down. But yeah, I just wanted to get all that stuff off my chest. And then for one last thing to note, and then I will actually start playing the game as it's supposed to be played and recorded. But and that'll be for next episode. Alpha 19 supposedly drops at the time of this recording goes live. And I've watched Games for Kicks do a change log listing of what the changes are in Alpha 19. I've watched not only the recorded video of Midnight Designer for the first episode of Alpha 19, but also a good chunk of his live stream yesterday morning of Alpha 19 with CB the Great and others, Avery Law and I can't remember all these other people that stream as well, but they got the early release of the game. Monday it's supposed to come out for everybody. I don't know if it's experimental or whatever, but I'm not going to record it. I think I want to finish up gameplay here in Alpha 18. We're going to go till day 49 Horde, slaughter all those fools, and then shortly after the day 14 or day 49 is over, after day 49 we'll do what I do with every base that I have done at the end of an alpha, and that is to load this sucker up with TNT and blow it all to hell. Now I'm going to save a backup copy of the game, so I'll always have the base, and it's on the community server that Sniper Jake has been running, and I hope you guys have been playing on it. I haven't had time to do it, to get in there, but I don't know if we're going to update the server or not, and I hope Sniper Jake can actually copy the base in the community server and then drop it in world if he does Alpha 19. I haven't had time or the mindset to think about that lately, but yeah, I'm not gonna do videos of Alpha 19. Maybe I might when it gets to like Alpha 19.43 or whatever, but I'm not gonna just jump on the bandwagon when it's fresh and hot. You guys follow me, you you'll catch it when or if I do it. I'm thinking of playing State of Decay or State of Decay 2. I got to get back into BattleTech, and I have to be careful not to do too many games because of time constraints for myself. But yeah, that's kind of the last announcement of it all. I hope you guys enjoy it with Midnight Designer, Games for Kicks. I don't know if Haladmer is doing a playthrough of Alpha 19 or not. But you definitely have to check out Hal. I keep forgetting names, but there's Midnight Designer and Games for Kicks are the ones I know that are active of the Broken Ankle crew, and then Hal that might be doing playthroughs to that. So I hope you follow them to watch that if that's what you're into. For me, I'm gonna try to do other things, and maybe do Alpha 19 later on down the road. I'm not really certain of it. It just, for me, it's just playing the same thing over and over again with subtle changes. It gets old for a while, you know. Anyways, I've ran on for a very long time in this episode, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for putting up with my shit and indulging me in inane chatter, but meaningful chatter to me. But yeah, it's trying times, but it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be sorrowful. It's just get up and kick some ass, you know? Like right here. Oh, shoot, she just dodged out of the way. Let's see, she's gonna pop out over here somewhere. Hello, baby. I know you're in there. Come give me a kiss. Like I give you a kiss. Like, right to the forehead. At a lot of feet per second. Did she die already? Aw. Come on, where are you at, baby? Where'd she go? Here. Oh, there she is. I miss you, baby. Didn't miss you that time. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this. Again, my Monday episodes tend to be more of a yammer fest, so to speak. But they just time to get some stuff off my chest or announce things, you know, that kind of stuff. The rest of the week we are going to be playing the game. We're going to be killing the zombies, expending copious amounts of ammunition, and laying waste to the zombie hordes. So I hope you guys will join me for that, especially if you manage to make it this far into this video. That felt good. Kind of, what's it called? Cathartic. That's the word. Gotta get my mind to gin up that word every now and then to keep it fresh. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and putting up my shit. And until next time, see you later. Twitch.